Weekend, some service members from Minnesota's National Guard who made the ultimate sacrifice will receive a new honor.
A memorial wall on the grounds of Duluth's 148th Fighter Wing.
In Northern News Now's Rob Coles explains how the names of the fallen will live on in more ways than one.
For Senior Airman Nash Tattanen, a 23-year-old serving in the 148th Fighter Wing, you might say military service is a family tradition.
So the family connection I have is on my father's side. It's my great-grandfather, Wayne Tattanen. He was a pilot.
A pilot in the same institution his great-grandson serves in now.
There was a mid-air collision with another pilot, and both of the aircrafts unfortunately went down. My great-grandfather passed.
Wayne Tattanen is one of 21 fallen service members with their names etched into a new memorial wall at the 148th in Duluth. The younger Tattanen helped with the effort to bring the new memorial wall to fruition. But he wasn't the only descendant of a fallen bulldog to aid in the effort.
My grandfather, George Ion, who was killed here in 1975 on the ramp here right behind us while he was working on a F-101 Voodoo.
Chief Master Sergeant Doug Ion says the wall was actually built 20 years ago, but a recent push in the past few years helped get the names engraved.
It was an honor to be asked and tasked to get this done and over the hump.
And while the wall brings names from the past into the present, leaders with the 148th say the memorial serves a dual purpose.
We have not forgotten the sacrifices that not only the service members gave, but what those families have gone through and sacrificed by losing their family member.
Remembering lives lost and the loved ones left behind. In Duluth, Rob Coles, Northern News Now.
Rob, thank you. This wall is meant to remember those who died serving their country, performing non-active combat duties. Now, this weekend's ceremony is a private gathering for family and loved ones of those who've passed.